Hey, Parks Casino is the number one casino in Pennsylvania where they have it all. An impressive collection of restaurants. The Parks Grill Steakhouse, Liberty Bell Gastropub, and open air beer garden, and Bamboo Noodle House. The Chicky and Pete's is there as well. The Chicky and Pete's. That sounded odd. I love Chicky and Pete's. Chicky and Pete's is also at Parks. Plus, a state of the art sports book, the 360 Bar, with live bands and comedy and headline entertainment, all at the Excite Center. Visit parkscasino.com for all the details. Time now for the headlines from Smerconish.com, the newsletter. Yesterday, 10,657 votes cast. Which workplace approach is most productive? I'm not surprised by this. I gave three choices. One was in the office, one was at home, the third was hybrid. 69.68% said the hybrid model. Okay, let's off the table for a moment. As between in the office or at home, in the office wins. 22.37% said you're more productive in the office. 7.95% said at home. What I found interesting yesterday in our conversation was a University of Chicago study that said that people work longer hours at home. I would have thought it was the opposite, but are less productive. That's what at least one data set said. Today's survey question, because it is election day in 7 states: Iowa, Mississippi, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, South Dakota, and California. There's an interesting LA mayor's race, jungle primary, who will be the top two who will come back and face one another. But to me, the most interesting race in the country today is a recall election in California for San Francisco District Attorney Chesa Boudin. Chesa Boudin is an interesting individual, a Rhodes Scholar, a graduate of Yale College and Yale Law School, whose parents were 1960s radicals with the Weather Underground. As a matter of fact, they went to prison for their role in the 1981 notorious robbery of a Brinks armored car in New York that left 2 police officers and a bank guard dead. I think his mother recently passed, because I remember reading her obituary in the New York Times, and it was a remarkable story and tale. So anyway, that, some would say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, raised by 60s radicals. He is the best known of this new crop of progressive prosecutors, a former public defender who then, jumped the fence and became a prosecutor, but with an attitude much different than predecessors. I'm a product of an era. In fact, Philadelphia's district attorney for many, many years, Lynn Abraham, sums up what largely was the way one got elected district attorney, which was to, thump your chest and promise to throw away the key on all the bad guys. Lynn Abraham's slogan, and it was a nickname given to her by Philadelphia Mayor Frank Rizzo, who once called her a tough cookie. I think he referred to her as a tough cookie when she was a judge. She was both a judge and district attorney. And then Lynn ran for DA and ran for re-election for DA, and she would give out cookies. Like, she would go out on the campagn trail and she'd give out cookies.
She owned it.
Oh, yeah, she totally owned it. Well, he meant it as a compliment.
Right.
She's a tough cookie.
Yeah.
And the way you got elected was to be a tough cookie, because if you were a weak cookie, nobody was voting for you. But things have changed, and Chesa Boudin is the most high profile of a crop that includes Larry Krasner in Philly, George Gascon in Los Angeles. And by the way, Larry Krasner survived a re-election fight in Philadelphia, but this is different. And I saw somewhere where it was categorized as a fight among what color blue you are. Like, San Francisco is a very blue place and a very progressive place, but because of the homeless issue and the fentanyl issue, which are interrelated, and the crime issue, or the perception of the crime issue in San Francisco, because Chesa Boudin says it's not as if crime is up, it's that some crimes are being given a tremendous amount of attention, and people have a perception of this situation. I've been to the Tenderloin, which is the area that you see the homeless issue and really has become so problematic. I've seen the homeless situation in Los Angeles. I've seen it all over California on my trips out there. it looks like he's going to lose this recall fight. And the survey question that I'm asking today is whether it's a referendum on all progressive prosecutors. So read in on the coverage that we have posted at Smerconish.com today and vote on today's survey question. In other political news, you know that there's a grand jury in Georgia, in Fulton County, that's investigating a better word choice, Donald Trump's conduct with regard to Brad Raffensperger, the perfect phone call. Hey, I just need you to find 11,000 votes. I'm paraphrasing, but you remember all of this. So that has now been delayed for reasons that are not clear, but it continues on. I bring it up from time to time, and I have the coverage from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution today, only because I think that of all of the different areas where Trump has faced legal peril, and we'll talk in a moment about January 6th, but this seems to be, I mean, the Fulton County District Attorney's Office investigation of Trump and his handling of Raffensperger and others with the counting of the ballots in Georgia seems to be the one where he might have the most exposure. John Fetterman, I talked about yesterday, both on CNN and here on POTUS. He, of course, won the Democratic nomination for U.S. Senate. Now will face Dr. Oz in a general election in the most watched Senate race in the country. At least I think so. Fetterman's wife had a sit down with Jeff Zelensky. Why am I struggling with his word? Help me with this.
Because it sounds like the head of
the president of
exactly.
Ukraine. Yeah. President Zelensky.
Right.
She sat down with President Zelensky yesterday.
We're just putting everything together.
She said that he'll be off the campaign trail until July.
Sounds dramatic, but we're in June. It's not that far
3 more
away.
weeks.
Right. So when I first read that headline, I was like, oh my goodness. And I was like, wait a minute, TC. We're in June.
She initially described what had happened as a quote unquote hiccup.
Yes.
And yesterday said, well, it's still a hiccup. Quote, families go
slightly
through
louder, larger hiccup.
Health crises. Our family is not unique in what they've gone through. It's just that we have to go through it very publicly.
I thought what you said yesterday on both New Day and here on the radio about when he comes back onto the campaign trail, if he is hearty and looks healthy and looks well and can then
it will have been a hiccup, politically speaking.
In 2 days we're gone. But until then, there's a lot to sort of ruminate
We wish him good health.
Oh my gosh,
want him to be fully recovered and robust.
Yes.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Okay. So yesterday, TC, I also wondered aloud on air, who will be covering Thursday night's first January 6th primetime hearing?
Why? Yes, you did.
And now we know who will not be covering it. Who will not be covering it? Fox News. Fox News Channel will not carry Thursday's primetime hearing of the January 6th Select Committee as its usual lineup will air. The hosts will cut into the proceedings when or if they feel doing so is warranted, so said the network. Now, this announcement that Fox is not going to take it live comes at a time when 5 Proud Boys have been indicted on charges of sedition. These are the most serious charges to have been filed so far with regard to the events of January 6th. And I also said yesterday and have said again today that, they're going to get one chance to make a first impression. And the lead witness and the way in which they conduct that hearing is very important, because you've got 3/4 of Republicans believing that Joe Biden was not the duly elected president. And it's going to be very hard to change opinions with regard to these hearings. And I wondered, how are they going to do it? Okay, now we know a little bit more. We know that James Goldston, the former president of ABC News, has been brought in to stage the hearings. This is a guy who ran, Nightline with Ted Koppel, a master documentary storyteller is the way that Axios refers to him. He also ran Good Morning America, has joined the committee as an unannounced advisor, and he is producing the 8 p.m. Thursday hearing on January 6th.
Have we just said, what TV is what politics is in America today? Have we just completely ceded all like this? That blew my mind. I'm sorry, that blew my mind.
It's in prime time, and there's a TV guy who's going to run it.
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
I do not like it.
Why? It just seems too...
It seems like why do you need a producer for fact. This seems like
because nobody's going to pay attention otherwise, or only half the people are going to pay attention otherwise.
I'm sorry, that's not the way politics should be. It's not a show.
It
is.
Again, I'm waiting to see who's the first witness. Apparently, it's going to be very highly produced. They've taken a number of depositions. They're not going to show you. You're not going to sit there laboriously like in the Depp Heard case and watch the full deposition. You're going to get a highlight reel. I mean, it seems like it's a total sales job to try and get people to pay attention for the last time to January 6th.
What is your opinion on this?
I need to watch it and see it.
Okay.
I'm mindful of your
judgment.
Yeah, I'm mindful of your criticism that it takes on more of a produced nature than a raw organic nature. But I want to see it. I also wondered who might be, like, who's going to be the lead witness.
You said that yesterday. So
I don't know if this is the lead witness, but there's a guy named Nick Quested, Quested, a British documentarian who was filming the Proud Boys with its permission during the riot. And he apparently has footage that nobody has ever seen before.
Oh, boy.
So you think you've seen it all. Maybe you haven't seen it all. But again, in the end, will this move the needle? Or here's another headline. All of these headlines, of course, are at Smerconish.com today from NPR. 10 states now gas costs more than $5 a gallon. U.S. gas prices hit a new record on Monday with a gallon of regular gas costing an average of $4.86, not adjusting for inflation. That's according to AAA. The highest average, $6.34 in California. 10 states have now surpassed the $5 mark. You are a diesel household.
My car is not a diesel. My husband's car. He has a diesel SUV, which has always been fantastic. Loves the diesel. Just he's an engine guy.
Well, the diesels. Can I just say,
I'm not,
CC, I'm not an engine guy. But I once bought a very old Mercedes with over 100,000 miles. When I bought it, over 100,000 miles on it.
Middle age for a diesel.
And it went to 200,000, and I gave it my secretary.
See?
I gave it to her.
And you felt good about it.
Oh, yeah, and she was thrilled to have it.
She went to
and
300.
drove it until she died.
God bless.
Yeah.
Now it is, if we see, we drove to New York this past weekend and we passed one that was $6.99 for diesel.
Whoa!
I think the closest one to us is like $6.49. So it's a little less than that, but it's still insane. Diesel is insane right now.
You could fly to the Cape for less than it would take to fuel up the diesel.
Well, interestingly, because of course that's the car we want to take to the Cape because it's the SUV. It has the hitch for the boats and the dog and the this and the that. And it's like, oh my goodness, whoever thought this would be the issue? No. And all of a sudden your electric cars are looking really good.
A lot of conversation we've had recently about whether President Biden should go sit with MBS to reduce those gas prices. I mean, would Biden be going to Saudi Arabia if American gas prices were not what I just told you? Of course not. But because they are, he's contemplated the trip. He's going to go in June. No, it's going to be in July. No, he's not going at all. But we don't know yet the resolution of Biden going to Saudi Arabia. Looks like he is going to go. But we do know that Phil Mickelson is going to take the money and run with regard to this LIV. I think they say Live Golf Invitational Series opener. The 6-time major champion sent out a lengthy statement on Twitter explaining why he is ready to come back. He apologized for comments that he made in the past and confirmed that he intends to play future major championships. So the Saudis are trying to launch a competitor to the PGA, and the PGA has said to its golfers like Phil Mickelson, you'll be disciplined and you may even get a lifetime ban if you go and play in that competitive tournament. Mickelson is going to take the money and is going to play, which is really huge. I think that the first tournament is going to be in London and very soon. So keep an eye on that as well. President Zelensky visited Ukrainian troops on the front line. Russia pushing back. Russia saying, and they struck at Kyiv yesterday, and they are saying that they will continue to strike all over the place if the American long-range weapon systems that were just committed to by President Biden are in fact delivered. There's a front page story in the New York Times today that I highly recommend. I have it somewhere in front of me, talking about one of the problems the Ukrainians have is that they're getting all of this sophisticated weaponry from the United States. They don't know how to use it. They've not been fully trained on some of the latest equipment that we are now providing to them. Matthew McConaughey has written an opinion piece talking about the difference between gun control and gun responsibility, which I highly recommend. That too is at Smerconish.com. What does he believe? Among other things, quote, all gun purchases should require a background check. 88% of Americans support this, including a lot of responsible gun-owning Texans. I've met them. Dylan Roof, who killed 9 people in a black church in South Carolina, got his pistol without a completed background check due to a legal technicality. The system failed. Gun control activists call this a loophole. I call it incompetence. In Philadelphia, we had a mass shooting, but not the type that we're used to seeing in the news recently. This was a fight that turned into a gun incident, a fist fight that turned into a gun incident, not one person like in Uvalde seeking to kill a lot of people. The update, 2 men have been taken into custody in connection with the mass shooting that was on our South Street last weekend, including an 18-year-old who prosecutors say fired a homemade ghost gun into the crowd Saturday night and was one of at least 4 gunmen. 4 gunmen. So fight breaks out and just so many people are packing heat. This is what separates us from the rest of the world. Anywhere else, it would have been a fist fight and people would have gone home, maybe with broken noses. In the United States, in Philadelphia, 4 people are not only packing heat, but are ready to use it in that kind of a circumstance. I like this story from the Gothamist. Headline, mental health professionals will accompany cops on some 9/11 calls in New Jersey. I think this is really what defund the police was supposed to mean. Beginning this summer, a mental health professional will arrive along with a police officer in a modified uniform and in an unmarked car at some 911 calls, for behavioral health crises in 2 cities in New Jersey. And I want to link this to a video that you'll have to decide if you're going to watch this at Smerconish.com from an Arizona news source, KOMO. I watched it. It's all 12 minutes long. 3 Tempe, Arizona police officers have been placed on a suspended paid administrative leave after a homeless man jumped into a local lake last month and drowned as the officers watched from a bridge while refusing to go in and save the man. You watched this video?
I watched the video. I wish I hadn't watched the video. No, I just don't understand it. I don't understand that as just a human nature. I don't, Michael. I don't.
It played out over the whole 12 minutes. Like you're seeing through their body.
I mean,
cam.
I understand that they tried to get him back.
Verbally,
verbally,
but they never jumped in the water. Right.
As a human being.
Like the guy.
How can you watch that?
The guy goes down to the water. They're having a conversation.
Right.
He's obviously troubled. Good word. Thank you. And if it's his wife, I'm still not sure.
It said in the
she's
coverage
troubled.
his wife.
They speak to the wife, then they speak to him.
Right.
Hey, where are you going? He goes into the water. It's a lake. The guy swims out to the lake. They encourage him to come back.
And then he can't swim. He says,
I can't
touch the bottom anymore.
Officer says, I'm not jumping in after you. Please help me. Please help me. Please help me. I can't touch. Oh God, please help me. Please help me. And he drowns.
He drowns.
And he drowns.
I can't justify that. I can't.
Hey, there's a lot more at Smerconish.com. A lot of serious news today. Please go there and check it all out and vote on today's survey question. I want to know if you think that the recall vote on Chesa Boudin is bigger than Chesa Boudin. Is the recall vote on the San Francisco district attorney a referendum on all progressive prosecutors, or are all politics local? And is this just a one-off like everything else? Okay. Website looks great today. The newsletter looks great today. Hope you're a subscriber to the Smerconish.com daily newsletter. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for watching as well on YouTube.